All right, we might be a day late in talking about it, but we are still buzzing about that Avalanche victory over the Vancouver Canucks. So we're going to keep talking about it. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, LockedOnAvalanche@gmail.com. And follow us on our YouTube channel. Over on YouTube, hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. One last thing, subscribe to that subtext. Link to that is in the show notes down below, because when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. Get your opinion on everything Avalanche, which we share on this very podcast. All right, Kyle. Yeah, I used the term buzzing in the beginning because it's one of those victories that just gets the fan base riled up, from the people who follow this team every day and are everydayers here, and then people, that watch every single game, to those, I don't want to call them fair weather fans, but just kind of like fans that just notice from a distance. And then you have your friends tell you, like, did you see that Avalanche game last night? And then they tune in and they're like, oh yeah, that was a heck of a game. Like, it wasn't perfect. And we'll obviously, I mean, you're down 3-0. That's not, there's going to be some issues there, and we'll talk about it. But from a hockey watching perspective, that was an entertaining game. And when you're on the side of, the come from behind victory, when you're down 3-0, of course you're going to be on the side of, like, you're on cloud nine right now. But give me your thoughts. I mean, and we'll like I said, we'll get to a lot of it, but great victory for the Avalanche.
Especially when you know the Avalanche are on the road. It's 3 shots, 2 goals on Georgiev. And of course the memes begin. And you anticipate this is going to be a long road. What can the Avalanche do? And then Nikita Zadorov is the 3rd goal to put Vancouver ahead. And you're just sitting there like, it's going to be one of those games. All the emotions we had coming off what this team has been building to this point after the Calgary game, you're sitting here and you against one of the superior teams of the West, you're down 3-0 in their barn, and you're just kind of dismayed. But the second period, they kept pushing, and once again, stop me if you heard this one before, the 3rd period for the Avalanche is where they put on a clinic and tied it back. And that's the effort you want to see. We talk about, like, every game matters. There's no more excuses. The Avalanche are playing that way.
You could have packed it in. You had every reason to pack it in when you're down 3-0. Every reason. It's their 2nd game of a back-to-back. On the road. They've had 3 days off, 4 days, I think 3 days off. They're well rested. They're at home. Your 2nd game of a back-to-back. They go up 3-0 on you. I mean, you're fooling yourself. Every Avalanche fan is fooling themselves if you didn't think, like, yeah, this is just, it's not going to go. Put this in the loss column. But I will say, like, there's always that little bit. It's not, that thought is never 100%. Yeah. It's never 100% of this game is completely over. It's probably in your head, like, this is a tall mountain to climb. Can they do it? Sure. But it is a tough one with all of those reasons I just laid out. And I wouldn't be mad at you if you would say, like, no, this is just not going to be the day. But never have that thought be 100% fully on, like, no, they're out of it, because they are not. And they showed it. And that is why this is the type of win, Kyle, that is, we've said it a few times throughout the season, where it's like, oh, you look back and be like, that's the win we can rally behind. This is definitely that. This is definitely at the top of that. And I think the reason why it maybe catapulted a little bit over some of those other wins is because of the opponent. Is because it's Vancouver. I mean, and Vancouver was on a winning streak too. It's not like they were losers of 3, 4, 5 in a row, whatever. They were on I think a 4-game winning streak themselves, but they've been great all year. And to do that, on their ice, when you've been struggling on the road, again, post trade deadline, you got your new guys. We'll talk about them too. It's just one of those wins that, at this stage in the season too, when playoffs are right around the corner, man, like this type of win goes a long way in just changing the mindset. Not that it really needed to be changed, because you've been doing this all year and come from behind victories, which, I think they had a graphic up. This is their 21st of the season, which is tied with Dallas. So this is what they do. You don't want to keep doing this, but they know how to do it. They don't buckle under pressure. Doesn't matter where they are. Doesn't matter who they're playing against. They never feel like they are completely out of it.
And it makes me smile, because at the beginning of that game, I was one of them that, with Georgiev letting in those 2 early ones, you're just like, well, great, this is how it's going to be. And then you could just hear the crackling. It sounds like a fireworks show of the knee-jerk reactions of everybody blaming every Bednar to Cale Makar and everyone in between on how bad this Avalanche team looks, to half of those people going to bed and waking up and saying, "Oh, they pulled out the win,"
What?
and the other half saying, "Wow, this is what we've wanted out of this Avalanche team." The knee-jerk reactions. You thought Kovalenko getting healed up and ready to go was something? Avalanche fans going from, this team needs to be absolutely, like, drop down to
Dismantled.
nothing and rebuild, to
Yeah.
this is what we want. It's nice to see him turn in one game, but this is what you want to see. I think I agree with you. This is a good win for where it is in the season, quality opponent, and the composure of this team, because this is it. This is who you're taking
Yeah.
into the playoffs with you. There is no more wait till insert player name here comes back, although we will be waiting on Lehkonen. Like,
Mhm.
this is pretty much your roster. And to see everybody rally around each other and push, very, very, very good sign going into the playoff.
Which they, like I said, they've been doing it all year. So if you're not on board with that yet, if you are one of those people that, if they have a bad first period where they get behind, which seems to be their MO, you don't want it to be like, you do want that to stop. Like, you do not
Mhm.
want to keep doing it in the playoffs. But if you're one of those people that, just feel like after a period that they're down, that you do shut off the TV, or you do throw on Whose Line Is It Anyway instead, like, you haven't learned. You have not learned. And at this stage in the season, you're not going to. So I can only ask just one more time, just don't turn the TV off on this team, because they will keep trying. They will keep playing their game, and they will make a game. They're not going to win all of them, obviously. It's so difficult to do what they're doing and win all of them. But man, they're an exciting team to watch. And I didn't feel like they were playing that bad of a game. This was one of those games where, the score was getting a little out of whack, but I didn't think they were playing terrible. And if we always say, like, oh, you just keep playing your game and you'll climb your way back into it. When the opponent is who it is, you have to take that into account too. And when it's a team like Vancouver, who's playing so well all year long, it's tough to say, just keep playing your game and come back. It's tough to say that, but they did. And that was a third period, a thing of beauty. And Vancouver had no answer. Once these guys, and once that top line gets going and figures things out, nobody has a response for him. Nobody. You cannot stop the bull that is running rampant in the China shop. You can't do it.
It's one of those that I kind of went into that third period with the mindset of, you ever watch those Harlem Globetrotter games where they intentionally let the Washington Generals up at halftime, and you're like, oh,
Mhm.
this is the game the Generals are going to beat the Globetrotters. But then the Globetrotters come back and absolutely handle business. I wonder if the Avalanche are handling things that way. They're just purposely spotting whatever team
Yeah,
they're playing. I'm saying that tongue in cheek. It's
sure.
because it's hard to deal with. I get it. Like from a fan standpoint of watching Georgiev let in those goals and then they come all the way back. It would be so much easier. We talk about it. Like those complete efforts, like 60-minute efforts, you get to properly roll out your 4 lines, and it's so much easier on rest and wear and production and everything. Top to bottom, it's so much easier on the team if you just do those, just the bare minimums, but you can't be picky when it comes to getting 2 points. You're sitting at top of the Central. And if the Devils hold on at time of recording, if the Devils hold on, you're going to be sitting at the top of the Central for one more day. Congratulations, Colorado Avalanche. This is what you want.
100%. So we'll get to that third period, but something happened in the final seconds of the second period that completely changed the complexion of this game. So let's talk about that. We have subtext people to get to. There's still more we got to talk about this game, and we'll do that next. All right, let's hear from Robinhood. And did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. And Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. And this offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered brokered dealer. I always want to do that last part in the Micro Machines Man voice. Super quick.
Oh man, I
do
forgot all about him.
Remember that guy? Yeah, he couldn't beat him.
That guy was so cool.
All right, so yeah, the third period was obviously the tipping point, and where things just went, all the way of the Avalanche. And that goal at the end of the second period by Mikko Rantanen, 1.8 seconds left or whatever it was, and he gets one that breaks the ice. And those are the goals that, think about it, if you're the opposing team and you're going up against the Avalanche, most goals scored in the league. You know what they can do offensively. You've been really having your, I don't want to say having your way with them, but you shut them out. Like the Avalanche were like I said, they were playing well overall. Not the best, but this was going to be a tough game. This is a tough opponent. And you get one that you really shouldn't have had. And, Devon Taves just does what you're supposed to do and just throw the puck towards the net. Mikko Rantanen's got 2 guys on him, and somehow, some way, his stick is what deflects the puck into the net. They get that goal. And like I said, think about it if you're the opposition. You've been shutting them out for just about 2 periods. They get one. And now for the next 18 minutes in an intermission, you have to sit in the locker room and live with that and run through your head all the scenarios of, now we're only up 3-1, and back it up a couple minutes, Kyle, when Georgiev goes out of his net to go play that puck and he misplays it, but he gets lucky and the puck hits his stick and ricochets almost like backwards. It literally went from a 4-0 shut the door to 3-1. You cannot tell me that didn't mess with the heads of the Vancouver Canucks. And you saw it, what happened, the repercussions of it in the third.
And we talk about moments like that so many times where it comes down to literally one moment. And with us being comic book fans, the what if scenario, we do a lot of what if. And it's one of those that, honestly, you put that, if that goes in off Georgiev and it's a 4-0 effort, and like I mentioned a couple times, like that was Nikita Zadorov. I just want to make sure everybody knows that's Big Z, former Avalanche, Big Z. He
Yeah.
doesn't score goals, and to go up 3-0, and then a 4-0 effort on Georgiev. We're having the conversation today on, is it time to put Eustace as 1A? Is it time to sit Georgiev? Are we okay with Georgiev in the playoffs? There's a lot of question marks that it's going to be going back and forth. You have no idea what that's going to look like. But then luck is on their side, and then Mikko puts it away with a little bit of puck luck, the Avalanche never carry on the road. They managed to pack it for this road trip. What do you know? And you get an assist from Middlestat and Taser. That's what you want. That's right there at the end of the period where they're sitting in there with the quote unquote most dangerous lead in hockey, a 3-1 lead. Yeah. And it's one of those that the Canucks are sitting in that locker room. Hey, that's one. We got them the rest of the way, boys. They're stick tapping. They got it. But the Avalanche go out there and it's all Avalanche. They go 2 for 4 on the power play. They hold the Canucks to nothing on the power play. A goose egg. They kill off the penalties. It's an incredible effort to do, not just in general, but on the road where the Avalanche are not good at all. And it's an incredible effort. And then that's Nathan MacKinnon to get the next one. And then Ross the Boss Colton to tie it up with Miles Wood.
Let's talk about that one. That was the maybe the most workhorse goal of the season, because they had a great possession, keeping the puck in the zone, and everything about it. You know, Ross Colton is getting a lot of the accolades, rightfully so, because the way that he, you know, he's on his stomach and he has just enough to get up, kind of like from his knees, really still from his stomach, and he throws the puck right into the goalie who's in the goal, and you can see that it goes in. But Miles Wood made that play there, because if you just rewind it 5 seconds, the puck's on the left-hand side of the goal. Miles Wood gets knocked down right behind the goal, and the puck, because it's everywhere, kind of ping pongs and goes towards it. He pops up. He went down and popped up in a millisecond. And if he's still on the ice and the puck comes to him and he can't, you know, do anything with it, that play doesn't happen. But he jumped up. Go watch it again, how quickly he gets knocked down to the ice and he comes back up and then swings it around to where Colton is. Or he tried to jam it in and it kind of, you know, scooted out to Colton, who from his stomach gets pretty good wood on that puck for a goal. That was maybe my favorite goal of the season this year. That was awesome.
And it's one of those that we talked about. I know I mentioned it on yesterday's or the day before's episode, and it was when the Avalanche went down 2-0, the question started circulating. What do we do about Miles Wood? What is going on? We talked about, is he on the milk carton? Where has he been? And then we talk about Ross Colton and Miles Wood. At the beginning of the year, we talked about them in high remarks. And then these new acquisitions, it's the new shiny thing. But that last goal to tie everything up reminded you why Sakic and McFarland went after these guys and what they contribute to the roster when everything's going the way it's supposed to. And then we haven't even talked about how this game was put away off Nichushkin's face.
So let's do this. Let's go down the timeline here. So, you know, they tie it up, and you know, there's still a lot of game to play, right? And you know, you had some choice. Go ahead. What do you got?
No, and before we come off the Mikko point, just in closing, we have the McGuire, Sosa, Kucherov, and McKinnon race. Mikko Rantanen, by the way, is sitting 5th in the league in points. I want everybody to know that right now. I know we kind of take him for granted, and we're all like, this great race between Kucherov and McKinnon is wonderful, but also look at 5th in the entire league is your Mikko Rantanen. Yeah. Just wanted to say that before we moved away from Mikko.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as the game is winding down, it's going into overtime, and the Canucks have a delay of game penalty with like 5 seconds left. completely I mean, he wasn't obviously trying to do that. He's trying to slam it up the boards, but he could have just kept it along the boards and not done anything. Just let the time run out. He throws it over, delay of game, and now we go to overtime. And it doesn't take long before the Avs score. You didn't really see it at first, but it did. It just went off the visor of Valnichuskin, who, for my money, even if it goes off his face mask, I don't care. The best overtime player in the league. He is aces when you get to overtime. And if you can put some quick bets in before an overtime period starts and it involves the Avalanche, put your money on Valnichuskin because it's going in. Valnichuskin, he's the best.
Yeah, it's like we would put the spotlight on LOC when you go on the penalty kill. We're starting to do that with Nichushkin when it's overtime. Once 13 hits the ice, we're all right.
Awesome. It's awesome to watch him in overtime. I know, like there's been a lot of talk on social media about, and Canucks fans are not happy, and they're not happy with Nathan MacKinnon because they felt he embellished a little bit on the hook. There were 2 tripping calls right before that, which were not called. And then the one that they did call, you know, I've seen Nathan MacKinnon do worse.
Yep.
I will say that I've seen Nathan MacKinnon do a lot worse in the embellishment department. That one is a weak one to kind of hang your hat on, if you ask me, because he's trying to skate to his right and he's getting pulled back from his left. So you see his arm kind of go with the stick. I think it was Ian Cole who hooked him. So he's going one way while his arm's going the other way. I guess they just didn't like how he reacted to it, but it's a penalty. You can't deny it's a penalty, and Avs get a 5-on-3 and another goal because of that. That did not change. I shouldn't say that. It did change it because the Avalanche got another goal, but for me, for my money, the goal at the end of the second is what changed this game.
Yep.
Not that. That was a continuation of what had already been in motion, which was momentum shifting to the Avalanche. And Money Puck, I'm a fan of the deserve to win O-meter. I just think that thing is fun. It doesn't give you all the information. It's not, it's like plus minus. Take it for what it's worth. But at the end of this game, the deserve to win O-meter on Money Puck was the Avalanche at like, I don't know the exact percentages, but it was like 75% for the Avalanche to 25% for the Canucks. That does not happen when one team is up 3-0. So they're saying like the Avs deserve to win that game 75 times out of 100, being down 3-0. Are you kidding me? That doesn't happen. That just kind of shows you how that number, the 3-0 score, is a little bit misguided. And hey, it is what it is. Vancouver had the opportunity to win that game, but the way that it was, playing out on the ice, the Avs were playing relatively well. First period wasn't great. I think you only had 6 shots on goal, but you ended with 30 something.
Yep.
So those last 2 periods were great, and it was all Avs, and you've played them well all year long. You've won every game against them all year long. So that bodes well for the playoffs too.
Yeah, it's wonderful that the Avalanche have made their second and third period such a strong variable that Money Puck can. They already know what's going to happen after the first period. So,
all right. So one question about the new guys and how this game plays into their mindset, and then we asked our subtext people give us one word that describes this victory, and we'll get that. We'll do that all coming up next. All right, this episode is brought to you by Ibotta. And grocery bills are so expensive these days, but now they don't have to be. Start getting cash back on your grocery shopping with the free Ibotta app and get cash back every time you shop. Ibotta is a free app that gives you the most cash back every time you shop on hundreds of items, from groceries to beauty supplies to toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, so you can buy that flight you've been wanting to buy, and that game that you've been dying to go to. Maybe it's an Avalanche game. Who knows? Or the fancy dinner that you've been craving. So right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code Locked On NHL when you register. So just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use the code Locked On NHL. That's IBOTTA at the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and use that code Locked On NHL. All right. Two things I want to get to for like one is I want to mention Georgiev. We mentioned him a little bit, Georgiev, and it's weird, man. Like, because do I blame him for that first goal? Not at all. That nobody is going to stop that shot. That is a complete redirect. That is an 85-mile-an-hour shot from the blue line, which gets redirected. You cannot blame him for that one. The second one is one of those ones. It's a good hockey play by Vancouver, but it's one of those where I'm sitting there like, would be nice to stop that one. Would be nice that it would have been a good save and a tough save, but those are ones that I want him to make, and those are ones that he's not making. So it's just incredible to me how he lets in goals so early. I can't wrap my head around it, even though if they're not even his fault. And I'll just go on that first one. Not his fault. Cannot blame him for that. But it's still a first shot goal, which I've never seen it happen so much than it's happening right now. And we keep saying this. Well, he didn't let it get to 4-0. He didn't let it get to 5-0. He kept it there. Again, fine. But I don't want to keep saying that. And I don't want to say that in the playoffs. So I don't know. Like, I think every game he plays, if I'm him, I have to feel good and bad about how I played, because I let in 3 goals. And yeah, but then at the end we got the win. So it's like, okay, but my team is really going above and beyond. And is that because of me? Sometimes, yeah. It's just baffling to me how I almost want to start games 1-0. Let's start games 1-0 with 15 minutes left in the first period, and away we go.
When it comes to Georgiev, all I'll say is this, because I could spend 30 minutes talking about breaking his reaction on that second goal. Atrocious. It made me sick to my stomach. It made me, I could spend 30 minutes talking about it, but I will tell you this, how I keep saying, let me watch Eustace to see where this goes. Let me have some more game tape. For watching Eustace to have some positive and more security, the same is going on with Georgiev, where I'm losing it. And it's not going to be every night where you're going to have your team score. We just talked about a miraculous comeback win. You can't keep asking your team night in, night out to do that. Bail you out.
Sure.
With 1, with 2. Yes, you're making it harder on your team because you can't escape with a 1-0 win. You already erased that possibility. You can't. You're putting so much on your team, and you're asking everybody to defend your goals, reaction, position. They're doing your job for you. If you, it's just it's too much. It's too much.
It's tough, but it's like, what do you do? Because there's moments he looks really good. He looks like, the 1A starter that you want him to be. So it's like, do you put up with those few goals that he's undoubtedly going to give up and trust that because you're the highest scoring team in the league and play your game, you're going to be in the game? Or do you turn to an unproven rookie who's only played a handful of games? I don't think they're not going to go that route. So this is what they have for this year. They didn't make any changes at the trade deadline. This is it. Georgiev is their guy. And, they just got to hope that if you can get through like the first 10 minutes of the game, you'll be all right. But that is a big ask right now. And that is not guaranteed that it couldn't get out of hand after 10 minutes for whatever reason. I've never seen anything like it. It's so bizarre.
The Avalanche haven't had a quality goalie since Varlamov, and they won the cup with Darcy Kemper. So as long as you can get semi-average out of your goalies, it looks like management is perfectly fine with that.
This is the role they're going to do, man. Like
Yep.
it's not going to change. Like if you
Nope.
move on from Georgiev, they're going to bring in another guy who makes about the same as him and just hope that they catch lightning in a bottle and does better. The days of the Avalanche going after, your $7-8 million goalie is not going to happen. So this is how they're doing it, and they're comfortable doing it, and they have the results to prove it because they're winning. That's all they care about. I wanted to bring in the new guys because, man, are they taking to this team. Jared Bednar put them on a second line all together, and it's like they were on one team together before they even got to the Avalanche, and just transported them from the team that they were playing with and brought them to the Avalanche, and they didn't miss a beat. That's not the case. They all played on different teams, and here they are. They looked phenomenal. Casey Middlestat is your 2C. He is your 2C. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm wiping my hands. Problem solved. I have no concern about the 2C anymore right now for the rest of this year and however long he plays for them. He's fantastic. His hockey sense is off the charts. He's got moves that really nobody else on the Avalanche has. Fantastic puck work, great passer. I'm really excited to see what else that this guy can do. Brandon Duhaime, great game. Yakov Trenin, great game. And once again, Sean Walker, I think he is built for this team. Again, we're still early in this, but good Lord, this could go down as one of the best hauls in trade deadline for the Avalanche, maybe in their history, if things continue this way. Things are looking mighty good for these new guys. And to come where they came from all individually, to see a win like this, do you feel like this kind of indoctrinates them into the Avalanche way of the never say die attitude and we're never out of it?
No, absolutely. The new guys needed to learn and see how the Avalanche kind of do things, because the letting up goals like we talked about with Georgiev and then finding a way in the third period to come all the way back and get the W. Yes, that's the Avalanche way, sadly. But when you're talking about the quality of haul, I've seen many, 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 many times the Middlestead-Lehkonen parallels being drawn. I completely agree. I think after 5 games, it is going to be sign Casey. However, whatever you have to do, he must stay. Sean Walker is the new Josh Manson. He's that pickup that you're like, oh, let's see how this goes. We know he could contribute. Sean Walker is legit and will also need to be a member of this Avalanche team going forward past this year. I like Sean Walker, I like Middlestat, I like Duhaime, I like Trenin. They're
Trenin on the
okay.
penalty kill.
Yeah,
he's great on the penalty kill. Really good.
Like a lot of these moves, it reminds me of that cup run haul that they brought in, like a Nico Sturm. Like it's just like I like the moves and they plug the holes and they do what they're supposed to do. But when it comes to latching on and keeping Sean Walker, Middlestat, no brainer.
No doubt about it. All right. Let's get to some subtext, people. The Avs had a game on that we didn't even talk about. Well, coming up against the Oilers. Huge game. We're so wrapped up in this Vancouver one, but we got to move on from it. We got to move on from it because it's a big game against the Oilers. So that's coming up. But I want to get to the subtext, people, because I asked them to, just give me one word that you feel best describes this game. And we got a lot of feedback from that. You had Kyle and Amy both saying resilient. I think that's maybe a word you could use to sum up the whole season, really. You had Tanya says prodigious.
Ooh.
Yes. Heather says dogged. I like that one. I really like dogged. Let's see. We got, I think this is, I like Vargas. Vargas says it's a quote 8-ball win because Georgiev gave up 3 early, put them right behind the 8-ball.
That's perfect.
That's wonderful. Let's see. Keegan says fortunate. What do you think of that one?
Valid, because we
Yeah.
were talking about if it went 4-0 Vancouver. This is a different day, different conversation, different episode.
Yeah, and they, they didn't, and maybe he means going up. They didn't have Demko to go up against. You know what I mean?
That's also
So
very valid.
that's a little bit fortunate as well. And maybe getting that last second penalty, the delay of game, that was fortunate. Sure. So I can agree with it. I don't think that's a negative thing, is being fortunate. Electrician Ziggy, all one word. OMG, I'm going to have a heart attack. And he put that all together. So technically that is one word. So I will accept that, Electrician Ziggy.
We make the rules.
Yeah. But seriously, like watching the game is like,
Yeah.
for games like this, I like, if this was a playoff game, totally.
Yeah.
Totally like heart attack mode. Joe said stressful. Obviously, yes, definitely. Again, my stress level rises more in the playoffs than regular season games. Like I don't get stressed watching these games. I'm totally entertained watching these games. But yeah, I could totally see the stress levels rising. And then this is Easton. I love this. He goes, I don't know. I fell asleep before the third. So surprising.
Mm.
Which, no, Easton, it's not surprising. This is why I said earlier, it shouldn't be surprising because this team does this all year long. If you want to say it's surprising because it was against Vancouver in their barn, sure, I will agree with that. But man, like this team does this and they are never down, they are never out. So surprising, I half agree with that.
You know, I'm actually going to go with Easton with my one word on this, because I would have said evolution. We watched
I
this
like
team
that.
go through the beginning third of this season, just not even care, not even put in the effort. There were so many games they got walked out of buildings. And you're just like, you watch this team win 6-2, 6-3, and then you watch them lose to teams they shouldn't. And it's just embarrassing beginning to end. And we're having conversations on why did they lose to Chicago? Why did they lose to San Jose? And we're Arizona. What is going on here? So to see this team push when they need to push and do what they have to do, and see them all top to bottom do their job, this is an evolution of where this team started out, and they have taken on a new form with new pieces, and this is a new beast.
It's not a bad one. That's not that. Yeah, you are seeing that. So, and again, since the trade deadline, haven't lost since they brought these guys in, and the road trip has completely turned itself on its head, at least for now. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. You want to see your trade acquisitions paying off. Right now they are. So there we go. All right. Avs play on Saturday in Edmonton. So we will be back on Monday to discuss that and anything else that goes on. Kovalenko's apparently on his way to the United States. So if we get news on that, we'll obviously talk about that on Monday too. That will wrap it up for today, everybody. So thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciate it. So for Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan, I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you guys on Monday.